My business has grown roughly 20% year over year. We're pacing towards 3 million in annual rev this year. How do you guys think about projecting growth for a brand at my stage in the upcoming year, so in 2026? So kind of a broad question, but let's think about essentially a lower seven figures brand thinking about projecting growth next year. How would you go? This episode is brought to you by Fermat. Whether you're running paid ads on Meta, Google, or TikTok, Fermat can help you increase your conversion rates without touching your website. They help you save time by generating high-converting landing pages in minutes using AI and boost your ROI growth with built-in A/B testing and real-time optimization. Fermat offers seamless integration with your ad platforms and Shopify checkout, so you can create custom post-click experiences without designers or developers. Over 500 brands have scaled their e-commerce business with Fermat, improving their conversion rates by an average of 30%. Go to fermat.com/CTC today and sign up for your exclusive 7-day trial. That's fermat.com/CTC. Alrighty, welcome folks to the DTC Hotline. This is your direct connection to hot takes, cold truths, and real e-com advice from some of the best in the business. I am your host, Richard the Professor Gaffin. All right, here's how this works. You call or text 866-DTC-2263 to get your burning e-com questions answered. Again, that's 866-382-2263. Leave us a voicemail, shoot us a text, ask whatever's on your mind. We have the two smartest guys in e-com on the phone with us right now, our two operators. First, Mr. Tony, the Chopper Chop, coming at us live from Newport Beach. Tony, what's going on, man?
Hello, Richard. Trying to take it slow with all this Halloween candy I have in my.
There you go. There you go.
Not doing too great.
Okay, well, you need a little sugar rush going into BFCM. It's November. It's hell month, man. We're going to get there. And then, of course, our other Mike, Mr. Luke the Weatherman Austin, coming in live from CTC offices in Costa Mesa. Luke, what's going on with you?
Yeah, we do not have any Halloween candy in the office, and that's a miss. The vibes are off. So really? Tony, maybe when you cruise in a couple days, you can bring a stash. We can help you. We can help you overcome curb. Yeah. Help us help you.
There you go. All right, folks. Well, let's dive into it here. We only got one question today. We're keeping them focused as we head into Black Friday season. Of course, it is November here in Portland, Oregon. It's like 40 degrees, but in our hearts on the DTC Hotline it's still warm, and that's why I'm wearing the Hawaiian shirt. But anyway, that notwithstanding, let's get into our first question here. This is a text question that came in, which is as follows. My business has grown roughly 20% year over year. We're pacing towards 3 million in annual rev this year. How do you guys think about projecting growth for a brand at my stage in the upcoming year, so in 2026? So kind of a broad question, but let's think about essentially a lower seven figures brand thinking about projecting growth next year. How would you go?
Well, that sounds an awful lot like a Spend-to-aMER model.
What? Oh my goodness. What are the odds?
That sounds an awful lot like what we got.
It's interesting, like the size of the business matters for sure. And so the specification of this conversation is helpful to have. Because the plan for the $30 million business would look different than the $3 million business in terms of approaching the forecasting exercise and then how you think about holding to those targets. And for a $30 million business, I think there's a lot more weight put on the predictability and the expectation of the business. It's just a larger size. There's more people involved. There is just likely a higher level of expectation, maybe a board involved, like as it relates to the outcome of the business and the predictability of the revenue, that I would put more weight in, quite honestly, whereas for a $3 million business, the forecast and the target setting exercise, I think is the focus should less be on the predictability of the outcome of this is what is going to happen for the business and this is what we should manage against. It's less so about that. It's more so about defining what the constraints are for the business into the future to then within the boundaries that you set, know how hard can push. It's like the way I think about it is we have our daughter, she's 2. So if she's in the front yard, we don't have a fence or anything. So there's like some grass within the streets down there. And so she like has to when we're out with her in the front yard, it's like we're always checking in on her. And if she's walking too close to the sidewalk next to the street, then we're telling her to take a couple steps back. Like it's much more, whereas in the backyard, it's all fenced in, the grass back there, she's got her toys, and she can just go ballistic. Like you can just do whatever she wants within the boundaries of the backyard fence. So it's like, here's the fence, here's the area. Now, don't have to worry about like looking over your shoulder. Is this too far for mom and dad? But like, just send it within these constraints. That's how I would think about the forecast for a $3 million brand, which is, here is my first order profitability target that I set based on the desired payback window, whether it's break even on first order or a certain percent of margin, return on first order, or payback within 60, 90, 120 days, right? So that's going to be your sort of core operating metric that the forecasting process is important to help align on, but it's less so about spend this much of budget this month to here's your constraint around first order profitability. Now go and blow that out of the water as much as possible in terms of the volume expectation against it. And so that's how I think about it. I mean, we can dive into more specifics around what some of those metrics are and things that we'd hold as constraints, but the size of the business is important. That's how I would think about this exercise for a $3 million brand. Get really clear on the constraints. There shouldn't be a lot of them. It should be simple, because what you're after is creating the most clearly defined and simple backyard playground for the kids to just go run around in and take some shots.
I love it. That's an apt metaphor. Tony, what are your thoughts?
Well, I was just curious as Luke was talking. I was curious what your thoughts are on the strengths and potentially the challenges of our spend and AMER models related to this question, like a $30 million business versus a $3 million business, because my assumption is that there's going to be more volatility in our data science and our modeling for a smaller brand.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Which is the main challenge. There's a smaller sample size, less order volume, less amount of time. So smaller sample size, which makes it more challenging. And you should just expect a different sort of growth trajectory and journey at different stages of the business. Expecting a $3 million business, expecting a $3 million business to be like, hey, we want to grow 7-8% quarter per quarter consistently, boom, boom, boom. If you impose that sort of expectation, you're probably limiting the upside pretty substantially in many cases. Whereas for a brand, for a $30 million or $50 million business, that is probably a really helpful expectation to have, actually, which is this level of consistency in the growth outcome, while also creating room to sort of take some bigger swings and shots within that. But the way that we think about forecasting through tools like the Spend-to-aMER model, through the retention model to get to our returning customer expectation, it's a much more first principle approach, which is the starting point would be, I need X amount of cash per month to cover my fixed expenses, right? So I have this much OpEx, this much cash per month to cover my fixed expenses. How much of that am I going to get from my returning customer cohort in terms of the contribution margin that they're going to give me? Okay, here's sort of the heuristic I can use for that. Now, how much additional contribution margin do I need from new customers, if any? Then that's where I'm setting my first sort of profitability target to make sure I get there. And then I know how hard I can go while knowing, sweet, I'm good. We're take care of our fixed obligations. Obviously within this, the sort of underlayer is the amount of cash flow you're forecasting and your inventory purchasing needs. So like, not trying to simplify it to this extent. There are multiple layers, but as simple as you can get it to, based on the inventory fixed expenses and the inventory needs, here's how much I need to generate in terms of profitability from my acquisition efforts and the growth efforts, the new things I'm doing. Now, against that, let's go and take as many shots on goal as we can. That's going to lead, I think, to a much stronger outcome for many brands, having those constraints than having a specific forecast and see like, okay, great, we landed plus 20% year over year, really close. You may have limited the upside.
Still sending people from email, SMS, or direct mail to the same old product pages? It's time to level up with Fermat's AI landing page and PDP builder. In just minutes, you can spin up personalized landing pages and PDPs for every channel, From email campaigns to QR codes and direct mail to paid ads. No designer, no developer, no waiting around. And that's just the start. With Fermat, you can A/B test every funnel, customize experiences by audience, and track performance across all your channels, all in one sleek dashboard. Now here's the kicker. Most people think Fermat is just for ads, but actually 80% of our customers use it in email, direct mail, and every place they need a landing page that works harder. Try it yourself, free for 7 days. Head to fermat.com/CTC or just click the first link in the description.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk then about or unpack a little bit more, like the value of forecasting for a brand at this size, right? So building out, so maybe I'll just leave it at that general question. So what's the value of, let's say, building a 12-month forecast for a brand that's at what does that help you do, and how's that different than the way it helps at 30 million?
I think it helps. It helps. The process helps to clarify the constraints, and that should be the main goal. Which is, as you work through each of these things, okay, we're going to work through our forecast. Let's start to think about each of the sections of our business, the operating expenses. Okay, here's how many operating expenses. Here's the additional headcount we're planning or needing. Here's the different additional infrastructure. Okay, this is the amount of fixed costs by a month. Okay, so based on that creates an obligation of itself. Like working from the obligation and the constraint and then up and out of that, right? Like the forecasting process helps to clarify each of these inputs, and specifically related to the OpEx, the fixed cost, the returning customer contribution, and then really getting to how aggressive can I be on new customer to be able to drive the growth. Because that is the thing that needs to be solved, is for you to continue to show that you can grow the business profitably and go from there that way. So the value of the forecasting process is in clarifying the constraints.
Yeah. Okay, Tony, what do you want to add there?
Well, I was just gonna say I didn't hear Luke throw in his favorite piece of the puzzle around what time consideration are you thinking about for this decision? So, and I think that's where, for me, the value of the forecasting process and the Spend-to-aMER model specifically, as it relates to the question of how aggressive can you be on new customer acquisition, is really a function of what are you trying to do? Is this we're trying to grow this business to a certain trailing 12 months EBITDA? Are we founders who are paying for our bills out of this business, and we need to generate a certain amount of cash flow that's a smaller amount potentially, and we can invest more in new customer acquisition? So I think the value of the forecasting process, to Luke's point, really helps you understand the constraints that you're operating within. But it's also going to be helpful to think about what time frame you're optimizing for, and ultimately what your end game is.
Luke, sorry, well, I'll let you, since it's your favorite thing, jump in on talking through time frame. Like, any additional thoughts there?
Yeah, I think the time frame, the main thing that's going to impact is how aggressive you're willing or wanting to be as it relates to your new customer acquisition efforts. And the what's the right phrase? It's not the 3,000 pound gorilla. Like the thing that's right behind you all the time, like some shadow that's following you, is the competition and categorical, the competitive landscape that's continuing to increase in terms of its expansion on your market and on your category, right? It is just relentless. The additional brands that are going to pop up, sellers on Amazon, that is always going to be there. And so every step back you take from new customer acquisition and volume, it allows someone to gain a step or two on you potentially, right? That said, if you continue to just play the game of max volume possible, then you're never going to realize an efficient profitability outcome that's actually going to lead to the valuation of your business that you're interested in. So that's the tension that's always in here, which is okay, the more that we pull back, we're creating space, whereas when the getting's good, you should probably go get those customers as long as it works within the current constraints of the business. But yeah, to Tony's point, the time horizon's everything. Because if it's, if there's a plan to make a strategic decision around the business in 6 to 9 months, that's a very different game to play than 5 years from now, especially when you have substantial LTV and the impact on that over the course of time. So I think that's priority number one. But again, it all comes down to like, okay, how aggressive can we be on new customer acquisition? All right, this is where we can be. Now, should we be that aggressive is then the next question, right? Like, we know how aggressive we can be based on our fixed operating expectations. Now, should we be that aggressive, or but yeah, how does this play into the time consideration for the business?
Yeah. All right. Anything else you guys want to hit on this?
I mean, it's a thought that's occurred to me as we're doing our 2026 planning process and looking at the operating expense for CTC. It's tricky. There's tricky questions to ask and answer, and really, Luke and I are having these conversations around there's things that we're interested in investing in CTC for the long term, but in many ways they come at potentially the cost of short-term profit, and it's the balancing act between these two things. So as you're doing your 2026 planning process for this $3 million business, I think you really have to ask yourself, like, do you need that fancy new office space? Are all these hires that you have planned out actually critical to your growth? Or depending on your time frame and what your objective is, would that investment be better served in getting your brand out in front of more new customers?
All right. Well, it makes sense. So I think we can go ahead and wrap it there. But I would be remiss, of course, if I didn't mention, by the time you guys hear this will be Friday the 7th, I think is when this comes out. By Monday the 10th, this offer will be off the table, which I'm about to mention, which is, of course, that for a limited time for 7-figure brands included. So if you are that 3 million brand, this applies to you. 7 to 9-figure brands. If you build a profit system with us, we're also going to throw in a free BFCM hourly tracking report. Now, if you listen to this week's e-commerce playbook podcast, Luke and I talk through exactly why you need hourly planning for BFCM, why it's so critical that you don't leave money on the table. But feel free to check it out, commonthreadco.com, hit the hire us button, and we'd love to chat about it. Now, before I let you guys go, Tony, I think we need to get a hotline hot take here. And given our topic of discussion at the beginning of this, favorite Halloween candies, or let's say Halloween candy hot takes. So I'm going to go to you first.
All of them? That's a terrible answer. I have such a terrible sweet tooth. There's no reason that I should have a basket of candy in my house. That's my hot take. Should not have.
There you go.
Can't be
shouldn't have any of
trusted.
it. There you go. Luke?
I am not a dessert person. I'm very strongly not a candy person. I'm not against candy. There's just like a very long list of things I would rather consume prior to candy and dessert in general. If I'm have some room after dinner, then I'll have some chips instead of have dessert, or I'll have I don't know, something. But I'll go savory versus sweet in general, and then as it comes Halloween evening, rather than candy, I had another cider. It's nice. It's a little sweet, It's but yeah.
For my candy hot take, which is that I also, like you, Luke, I'm not a dessert person until somebody puts the dessert in front of me, and then I'm like, wow, this is great. But my hot take is that candy corn is great. I love candy corn. It's really good. You should have more of it. And we'll leave it at that, folks. It's about the hottest take you can imagine about Halloween candy. All right, folks, thanks for joining us. Remember, if you want your questions answered on the pod, call or leave us a voicemail, 866-DTC-2263. You can shoot us a text there as well, and we might answer your question on a subsequent episode. So for Tony the Chopper Chop, for Luke the Weatherman Austin, I'm Richard the Professor Gaffin. Good talking to you, and we'll see you next time.